Hey, what's up guys? It's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. I really need to start looking better for my YouTube videos. This is just really unacceptable at this point. Today's video is going to be how to create a good 4-year plan at the University of Washington. If you go to a different college, I'm sure the same tips can be applied. I'm also going to be sharing my suggestions on what classes you should take your freshman year. So if you're going to be a University of Washington student, the way you create your courses is through a site called My Plan, and this is linked to your UW Net ID. The first thing I recommend to do is to talk with an academic advisor. You're going to meet your academic advisor during your freshman orientation. This is the official person you talk to when you're trying to solidify your 4-year plan and think of classes for each quarter. Most of the time when you get into your major, you'll have a different advisor as well, and this is an advisor that is more specific to the department you're in. For example, I have my regular academic advisor that I got during freshman orientation, and then I also have my astronomy and physics advisors. It definitely helps to talk to someone about your 4-year plan, so I'd recommend setting up an appointment or just going into drop-in advising. My next tip for creating your schedule is to think about balance. When I was a freshman, I had the mentality that I needed to get as many classes as I could out of the way during my freshman year, and that is not a good mentality to have. You don't want to overload yourself with classes to the point where your grades or even your mental health are suffering as a result. In my opinion, it's better to take less classes and get a good GPA in each class, as opposed to taking a bunch of classes and not getting a good GPA in each class. If you think about it, your potential internships and your future jobs will look at the GPAs you've gotten in these courses. I don't think they'll really care how many classes you took per quarter. For example, let's say I needed to take this one physics, one math, and one engineering class, like no matter when, but sometime during my 4 years. A poor decision would be to put all of these important classes in one quarter. You're simply just not going to have enough time, enough energy to do well in each one of those classes. It just is not going to happen. It's a little bit different if these classes are prerequisites to different courses, because then you kind of need to get them out of the way before you apply to your major. But if these classes aren't prerequisites, you do not need to stress about putting it all in one quarter. You are just going to make yourself so miserable. So let's say you had 3 of those difficult classes you needed to get done somewhere within your 4 years. I'd recommend taking 1 or 2 per quarter, but not 3. The next thing about creating your schedule is that you're going to want to fulfill your requirements. An easy way to check which requirements you need to fulfill is by going to My Plan and then checking DARS. DARS allows students to input a major, and then it produces all of the classes you need to take in order to graduate with that major. You can also check the department website or even reach out to your academic advisor. I think DARS is the easiest option because it specifically states what you haven't done and then what you still need to do to graduate with that major. At the University of Washington, your bachelor's degree is split into 3 categories. The first category is general education, and this is 50 to 90 credits. This is basic skills, which includes diversity, foreign language, quantitative and symbolic reasoning, and English composition and additional writing. It also includes areas of knowledge, which are VLPAs, visual, literary, and performing arts, individuals and societies, and natural world. In your major, you're going to have prerequisites, core courses, and program electives. So in order to graduate with a bachelor's degree, you're going to need at least 180 credits in total. For each course that you're planning on taking, you're going to ask yourself a couple questions. 1, identifying what basic skill or area of knowledge this course fulfills. If that doesn't apply, ask yourself, is it a major prerequisite? Next question, ask yourself why you're taking this course. And one of the most important things to think about is the connections between the classes you're considering putting into one quarter. For example, do all of these classes involve a lot of reading? Do they all require labs? Are there quiz sections? Are they all STEM courses? Do the topics overlap between the courses? This kind of goes into my next suggestion, which is so important, so listen up. Be aware of time you'll spend on each class that is outside the set class time. I'll say it again. Be aware of the time you'll spend on each class that is outside the set class time. For example, let's say you're taking a physics prerequisite, so Physics 121. Physics 121 is 5 credits and has lectures, quiz sections, and labs. That's a lot of class time, and you're going to have to think about that, and then also the amount of time you'll spend doing the homework, going to tutoring, doing group projects, studying for exams. There are so many additional things that you have to do for a course like that outside of set class time. Keeping that in mind, do you really think you can get a really strong GPA in that course when you have 3 other classes in your quarter that are exactly like that one? No, realistically it's not. Well, I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's not feasible. So now that I've given you that initial warning, I'm going to tell you what a balanced schedule actually looks like. What you want to do is try and include a variety of areas of knowledge each quarter. And UW recommends that you limit yourself to no more than 2 courses in the same area of knowledge. I'm a STEM major, so it's kind of inevitable that I have to take a lot of STEM classes each quarter, but I recommend not having every single class be a STEM class. Or not taking so many STEM classes in a quarter, maybe like lighten the load a little bit. You want to try and maintain a 12 to 18 credit load. The average is 15 credits a quarter to complete 180 credits in the next 4 years. I've personally stayed between 15 and 17 credits. Another tip I have for you is to consider what's going on outside of class. If for some reason my first warning about not overloading yourself didn't convince you, think about all of the stuff you want to do that's outside of your normal schoolwork. It could be going to a job. It could be going to RSO meetings. It could be playing a sport. It could be your social life, hanging out with new people in college. Other activities like I've listed are really important in ensuring you're getting the most out of your college experience, that you're prioritizing your mental health. Yes, school is very, very important, but you want to make sure that you have time to do other things in college as well. Now, at this point in the video, you might be asking, well, Jess, I would love to lighten my course load. I would love to not take so many STEM classes per quarter, but I have to because they're prerequisites for the major I want to get into next year. First off, that is a very valid statement. I asked the same thing. I found it weird how people were telling me to lighten my course load and to not stress myself out, even though I had to take these classes. Like, I couldn't just put them off. It didn't make sense. For example, during my freshman year, I wanted to apply to the physics and astronomy major the following year. And in order to do that, I needed to take a bunch of prerequisite courses. Those included Physics 121, Physics 122, Physics 123, Math 124, Math 125, Math 126. Obviously, math and physics are very heavy STEM courses, and they're even more difficult knowing that they're the prereqs for the majors, so they're readout classes. If you are planning on applying to your major your sophomore year, you're probably going to have to take some of these prerequisite courses in the same quarter. What I will recommend is to prioritize these prerequisite courses that are going to help you get into your major, because a lot of majors at the UW definitely care about your GPA in these courses, especially if the major is capacity constrained. Like I mentioned in a previous video, I know a couple people who didn't get into their desired STEM major because of 1 or 2 okay grades in a prerequisite class. So what I would recommend is to prioritize those classes and then kind of make your schedule around that. For example, during 1 quarter of my freshman year, I needed to take a physics and math prereq. What I did during that quarter was take 1 more additional class, but I made sure this was not a STEM course. I actually took an Asian American Studies class. So not only was this class not STEM related at all, but it also filled another requirement that I needed, which was my diversity credit. Personally, I think this is a pretty balanced schedule because it was 15 credits. I had to take the 2 STEM prereqs. And then the other class I chose to take wasn't at all related to STEM, and it also fulfilled another requirement, which was my diversity credit. I think adding any more would have been too much for me to handle at that time, and I think that subtracting any of those courses wouldn't have helped me in any way. Another thing to think about when you're planning your schedule is the time you're going to be taking these classes. This is all based on your personal preference. I like to have my schedule where I start early in the morning and then have them back to back to back so that by like 12:30 I'm done with my classes for the day and I have the rest of the day to work on homework, eat, hang out, whatever. Not a lot of people are like that. A lot of people like to spread out their schedule, and I can see why. If your classes are spread out, you don't have to worry about sprinting to your next class within the 10 minutes, especially if your classes are far away. This is such a struggle. Having these breaks also gives you some time to relax, eat, do some homework. Sometimes they'll even say what professor is teaching what class time. So even though I like mornings, if I go on Rate My Professor and I know that the morning professor has had bad reviews, then I'm not going to take that class. I'll just choose a different time. I don't care if it's in the afternoon. So that's another thing to look at. Consider time, but then also consider the professor that it's teaching at that time, and then maybe adjust your schedule accordingly based on if you heard positive reviews or negative reviews. I will say that as a freshman, it's a little more difficult to kind of choose the time you want to take the class or the professor, just because some of these classes might fill up super quickly and you kind of don't get like the best priority when choosing your classes. By the way, during your freshman orientation, you get to choose your classes there. So I would recommend kind of having like a game plan of what you want to do. So if you're an incoming freshman, I would recommend that you think about which major you want to be in, and then think about the prerequisites that you need to take your freshman year in order to get into that major. During your freshman orientation, they will set aside time for students to plan their autumn quarter. And this is why I highly recommend you have some sort of game plan before going into this, because I didn't and I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm sitting in the computer lab and all of these sections are filled for math and physics, and I was like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do? I kind of need to take these courses. I was like freaking out. Everything worked out though. I just had to take a FIG and then my schedule kind of lined up. If there's a class that you really want to take that's filled up, you can go ahead and click the notification button and they'll alert you when a spot opens up. You gotta be like on it though, because those spots go away so quickly. That's kind of all I have to say on the matter. I mean, don't stress about it too much, but maybe have a game plan or a list of potential classes that you would like to take your freshman year. In terms of course planning over the 4 years you're at the UW, I would recommend the same exact tips I said for each individual quarter. Keep it balanced. There's also the question on whether or not students should take a summer quarter. Since I am a double major, I'm set to take a summer quarter each year I'm at the UW. 1, because it will allow me to finish these 2 majors within the 4 years. And 2, this will allow my autumn through spring quarters during the year to not be like overloaded with a bunch of classes that I need to take. Another thing you should definitely pay attention to is to when these courses are offered. I forgot to mention this in my cons video about UW, but the way the schedule works is that not all of the classes are offered each quarter. So I'm a double major in physics and astronomy. And for example, some of the physics courses I need to take are only offered in like winter and summer. This is where I got into the dilemma of not wanting to overload myself during like winter quarter. So naturally I would want to take out the physics course. But oh wait, the physics course is a prereq to a course that's only offered during spring quarter. You see how this is a little bit of an issue? Another thing that's kind of annoying is that scheduling your classes happens at like 6 a.m. And you need to be ready at least at 5:45 and have your classes and registration page pulled up on your computer. Classes have limited spots, so at 6 a.m. everyone is rushing to get a spot and you do not want to wake up late and oh whoops, you don't have any classes to take that quarter. That's kind of all I have to say in terms of planning each quarter and your 4-year plan. If I missed anything or if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below so that I can offer my help. I cannot believe I'm already at 350 subscribers. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. I'm going to keep it rolling with the content, and if you guys have any videos you'd like to see from me, again, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to post them. I will say I have some pretty exciting videos coming up in June, so stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys in my next video. Should I like close my eyes when I do that? Or does that look weird? I don't know what to do. Anyway, bye!